Spain are rebuilding a football empire, but right now, not everyone agrees with the vision. In fact, the entire nation is fiercely divided over the architectural plans. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to completely break down the official 2026 Spanish World Cup squad. Look, we are going to ignore the media noise today. We're tuning out the fan debates and the intense social media battles, and we're going to analyze the cold, hard reality of Luis de la Fuente's roster. What we have here is a squad defined by absolute technical brilliance, some incredibly unexpected choices, and a master plan that has literally left half the country demanding answers.
And those demands for answers, they all start right here with this absolutely staggering number: 0. For the very first time in the entire storied history of the Spanish national team, not a single Real Madrid player has been called up for the squad. Not one. In a country where football culture is so deeply, intensely club-oriented, this unprecedented omission sent absolute shockwaves through the press. It immediately drew accusations of bias and put this immense, almost suffocating pressure on the manager before a single ball has even been kicked. Okay, let's dive into this, because this second number is what truly lit the fuse. 8. While Real Madrid has 0 representation, 8 players from their bitter rivals Barcelona have been selected. Now, for a huge section of fans and media, this felt like an intentional slight. It felt like a massive division line drawn right down the middle of Spanish football. But we have to ask ourselves, is it really a political statement, or is there a much deeper, data-driven footballing truth behind these numbers?
Well, when confronted with this exact question by the press, manager Luis de la Fuente completely stood his ground. He stated, very clearly, "I don't look at one club or another. All I want is for these players to feel proud to represent a national team." He directly addressed the noise, explaining that he simply does not share the local biases that fans might have. His job isn't to balance club egos. His job is to build a singular, unified machine capable of winning a World Cup. Section 1. The Manager's Master Plan. Tactics over politics. To truly understand this roster, we have to strip away the club badges entirely and look purely at the football. Spain has evolved way past the endless, unpenetrating tiki-taka we saw in the late 2010s. The modern Spanish game now demands verticality, high-intensity pressing, and constant positional fluidity. And to survive the crushing pressure cooker of a World Cup while executing this highly demanding system, De La Fuente's priorities are crystal clear. First, dressing room harmony is non-negotiable. He explicitly wants to avoid the ugly, divisive club rivalries that have derailed Spanish teams in the past. Second, he demands tactical versatility. He needs players who can flawlessly shift across multiple positions on the fly. And crucially, he relies heavily on existing familiarity. Remember, De La Fuente is a former youth coach for Spain. He's purposely choosing players who already understand his exact system inside and out from their time in the under-19 and under-21 setups.
Section 2. The Tactical Trials. Real Madrid Omissions.
We have to look at these controversial omissions not through the lens of emotion, but through data, form, and pure tactical fit. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it frames the Dani Carvajal debate. Look, Carvajal is a legend, absolutely. But the reality is he suffered a very high injury rate this season and simply lacks the consecutive minutes needed to prove his tournament fitness. Instead, De La Fuente opted for Marcos Llorente and Pedro Porro. Why? Because the data clearly shows they're offering elite defensive duels, incredible ball-carrying ability, and a week-in, week-out consistency that frankly puts them in the top 5 right-backs in the world right now. It's a ruthless decision, but it's based purely on current physical readiness.
And we see a very similar story unfolding on the left flank. Real Madrid's Alvaro Carreras had a really promising start to the season, right? But then he lost his starting continuity and saw his minutes drop off a cliff after a managerial change at his club. At the international level, you just cannot afford to take players who aren't playing. Marc Cucurella and Alex Grimaldo, on the other hand, have proven international delivery. Grimaldo offers elite crossing and high expected assists, while Cucurella provides a completely distinct, highly reliable defensive skill set that Spain has already successfully utilized. The running theme here, again and again, is absolute club continuity.
Then there is the intense, heavily discussed debate surrounding Dean Huijsen. Many analysts argue Huijsen has a higher overall ceiling and better raw potential, and they might be right. However, De La Fuente chose Marc Pubil. Once again, it all came down to recent continuity. Pubil had an exceptionally strong finish to his season, playing massive consistent minutes. Furthermore, the manager already knows exactly what Pubil can do from their time together in the Olympic squad. Potential is great for the future, sure, but proven current form wins out on a stage like this. Ultimately, when you step back and look at the whole situation impartially, you realize the harsh reality of Real Madrid's current roster dynamics. The club simply doesn't have an abundance of match-ready starting Spanish players right now. Guys like Dani Ceballos or Fran Garcia just aren't getting consistent starting minutes for their own club. And if a player isn't starting for their club, it is incredibly difficult, almost impossible for a national team manager to justify throwing them into the starting 11 on the absolute biggest stage in global football. Section 3. Midfield risks and the heart of Spain. The Spanish midfield has historically been this beautifully orchestrated engine room. We all know that. But heading into 2026, that engine is taking on water. Spain is essentially playing midfield injury roulette right now. Just look at these absolute titans of the squad. Rodri, the literal anchor of the team, is coming off an injury-laden season and is desperately seeking his peak form. Mikel Merino has just recently returned to full training after a really grueling long-term foot injury, and Fabian Ruiz has lacked 100% consistent fitness all year long. These veterans are the tactical brain of Spain, but they are entering the ultimate physical test, battered and bruised. None of them are starting the tournament at a guaranteed 100%. So, the crucial point is how the manager actually compensates for that fragility. And the answer is Gavi. His selection generated massive discussion because, well, he too is returning from a long injury absence. But every top manager, from Xavi to Luis Enrique to De La Fuente, picks Gavi. Why? Because he provides something that stats simply can't measure: an unmatched physical work rate. He is the ultimate disruptor. He brings that aggressive dog-in-the-heart character that perfectly, beautifully balances the smooth, technical play of the rest of the squad. But it's not just about what he does on the pitch. When Gavi heard his name called up, the emotion was palpable. A camp insider referred to him lovingly as the toy of the squad. He's constantly joking, constantly involved in every single conversation. He brings this infectious energy, an absolutely essential human connection, and a fierce team spirit to a dressing room that is going to need absolute unity to survive the psychological warfare of a World Cup. That unity and shared burden completely extends to the backline as well. De La Fuente is walking a serious tactical tightrope here, selecting only 4 natural out-and-out defenders. Instead of packing the bench with traditional depth, he is relying entirely on extreme defensive versatility. Players like Eric Garcia are absolute lifesavers in this kind of system, seamlessly capable of dropping into center back, sliding out to right back, or stepping all the way up into defensive midfield. It's a lean, hyper-flexible setup, but make no mistake, it requires immense footballing intelligence to execute properly. Section 4. The final squad and World Cup glory. Matches are won by scoring goals, and you only need to look at the sheer volume of attacking depth De La Fuente has hoarded for this campaign to see his strategy. You've got the recovering phenom Lamine Yamal, absolutely vital to the project, the electricity of Nico Williams and Dani Olmo, the relentless work rate of Mico Oyarzabal, Yeremy Pino, and Ferran Torres, all backed by the exciting youth of Victor Munoz and the robust physical presence of Borja Iglesias. It is a crowded, terrifyingly stacked arsenal of varied attacking profiles, allowing Spain to pick apart opposing defenses in a dozen completely different ways. And this brilliantly illustrates Spain's unique tournament mentality heading into 2026. This team knows exactly what it is and what it isn't. They lack the brute, imposing physicality of some of their European or South American rivals, but they compensate for it with extreme, suffocating technical superiority, deep-rooted locker room chemistry, and a strict, unified system where every single player knows exactly what is required of them. It is high-risk, high-reward football. It is absolute finest. The stage is set. The manager has made his choices, ignoring the media noise, leaving the iconic white shirts of Madrid behind in favor of a cohesive, technical master plan. But in football, the only thing that actually justifies a controversial plan is winning. So will Spain's new, bold generation restore them to the pinnacle of football royalty? Or will this roster division ultimately be their undoing, tearing the footballing nation even further apart? We'll find out when the whistle blows. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the game, and I'll see you next time.